topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Well, hello, America. Bill Martinez here. Good to have you with us as always. And we've got lots to talk about. We're going to talk about the IRS. We're going to talk about this government. Are you getting your money's worth? I mean, for all the money. I mean, here we are. We're looking at what, $32 trillion in debt. What are we getting for this, for this money that they come and, they take? They're not creating anything. The only thing they're doing is creating things that can capture more of our money because our government is getting way out of hand and more expensive. And I don't blame you. You're asking the same questions that we're all asking. It's like any other investment. But of course, our government doesn't look at it as an investment. It is the commandment. You shall pay the government or else. The question is it time to disarm the IRS, especially in light of all the debt ceiling debate, Joe Biden's movement to hire 85,000 more IRS agents? And that it's not going to be, just for, the rich and famous. There's no way. I mean, they're coming after us. It's the same manner in which the whole the whole IRS began with, right? They started with the 99, we're going to go after the top 1%. They've got all the money, so we're going to go after them. And then they found out after a year that that wasn't the best thing to do, that they had more money in the hills of those 99. So forget about the 1% because they had their attorneys and they were not fun to play with, but we'll go after and torment the 99 that aren't as equipped. Adam Andrzejewski, he's the author of Drain the Swamp. He is also the founder of Open the Books. And we always love having Adam on with us because he breaks it down. He's telling us what is happening with your money and all that we send to the government. Adam Andrzejewski, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us.
Well, great to be on the program, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Well, here, the debate, the debt ceiling debate, and it really brings into question, which I think really makes the politicians and of course, those in the government a little bit uncomfortable because we start, we go, wow, 30, how did we get up to 6 trillion dollars in debt? And what are we getting for that?
So if you take just a recent history over the course of the last 22 years on our national debt, it's Republicans and Democrats and Republicans and Democrats. I mean, just think about this, Bill, and we've discussed this on your radio program. Back when George W. Bush, the Republican president, took office, our national debt was less than $6 trillion. Through Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and now Joe Biden, we're pushing $32 trillion. We're up nearly over 5 times on the national debt in just 22 years.
Yeah,
both parties, Republicans and Democrats, they're addicted to spending our taxpayer money.
Yeah, and then look again, at no time are they doing anything about bringing it down. They're continuing to increase the liability well beyond measures that the financial experts warn us and say, what is the prudent thing to do in terms of government spending in relationship to GDP, right?
Yeah, and so the recent fight that we're all aware of is on the debt ceiling. And this is the only way over the course of the past 10 and 15 years Republicans have ever made any headway, it seems like, on federal spending. So the leverage of the debt ceiling has worked historically for Republicans. Joe Biden staked out a position that the debt ceiling bill needed to be clean. And at openthebooks.com, we made the argument that a quote-unquote clean debt ceiling bill was actually dirty. Because although justice is blind, Congress isn't. And we pointed out, there's 3 keys to understanding federal spending right now in real time. Number 1, institutionalized incompetence. Number 2, the insiders have gamed and rigged the system. And number 3, the criminals have gone wild. And we can break those 3 things down. But what it means is if you had a clean debt ceiling bill, that you would codify all of that dirty spending. And so that was the debate that we just went through.
Mhm. Well, let's go ahead and break this down even further because Adam, you're exactly right. I mean, everything about the deep state and the Beltway is about sustainability. What can they do to keep living, keep getting elected, and keep, having control of our money, right?
Yeah, exactly. So number one, institutionalized incompetence. Next week, we're going to break a report where last year, the 17 largest federal agencies, the top 85 federal programs, admitted to misspending and improper payments of $250 billion. It's actually stunning. Bill,
That
this is
is,
what they admit to. So,
yeah.
like, if I say it's waste, fraud, corruption, and abuse, you and your audience can doubt me. But when the feds say it, it's got to be the truth. They've actually admitted they paid the wrong person the wrong amount or payments under the wrong set of federal rules to the tune of $243 billion last year. And if you break that down per person in the country, it's rather stunning. It's $820 per man, woman, and child across the United States. So a family of four, your share of their admitted improper payments is $3,200. And Bill, that's actually 2 average mortgage payments.
Exactly. Adam, I don't want to sound cynical, but we know that everything that comes out of the government is a rough estimate. And first of all, for them to come out and even admit that this is what they've done is quite telling. It just again reminds you of kind of like what happened with Lois Lerner, right? Lois Lerner knew there was going to be some bad news out, so she planted a question in the press pool so that she could say, when asked about it later on, oh, that's old news. We've already talked about it. And then also the estimate. It's always an estimate. It's always being revised. So this is at this point what they'll admit to. So this is without an IG report, or maybe there's an IG report that's about ready to come out, and this is why they came up front and admitted it, right?
Yeah, and this is by and large outside of the rampant criminality within our COVID aid programs. So this is
Yes.
basically just regular, everyday federal programs, and what they admit to was improperly paid. Okay, so then you have, the insiders gaming the system. We've come out with some reports. We've discussed this on your radio program in the past, Bill. One of the reports that we came out with about 30 days ago was pretty interesting. We took a look at the wealthiest 20 nonprofit hospital systems across the country who are making big profits, and their CEOs are making Wall Street sized compensation packages.
Wow.
So during COVID, these 20 largest nonprofit hospital systems actually took $23 billion with a B of congressional COVID aid bailouts. And over a 3-year period ahead of the pandemic in 2019 through 2021, the pandemic, their net assets grew by $124 billion. So they took $23 billion and times 5, their net assets grew. They made so much money during the pandemic. Their net assets they paid all their bills. They took all the COVID aid on a net basis. Their net worth increased by $124 billion. And some of these, like 7 of these CEOs of these hospital groups last year made over $10 million, up to $17 million a piece.
So did any of that COVID money or, that stimulus that went to them, do they have to pay that back, or it's forgiven down the road because, the Democrats love to forgive people of their debts?
We've issued the clarion call to pay it back. And 2 hospital groups have. Mayo Clinic paid back half of theirs. I think they should have paid the whole thing, but they paid back, over $100 million worth of their COVID aid bailout. In Kaiser Permanente, they paid nearly all of theirs back. They have a subsidiary out in Hawaii. They took $11 million for the subsidiary. They didn't pay that back, but they paid, I believe it was $500 million, $500 million. Kaiser Permanente did pay back. And so that's the example. If Kaiser can pay back their COVID aid, so can the other 19. And so we're not letting this go. We are at openthebooks.com, join the transparency revolution. We are going to bring the heat. We want those CEOs brought up in front of these congressional oversight committees having to justify how, when their net worth soared during the pandemic, how they can justify holding on to $23 billion of U.S. taxpayer money.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it behooves our legislative body to keep the pressure on them to make sure the money does come back. Because if they were successful with a couple of these organizations, why not across the board?
Exactly. So that brings us to our third point, Bill. The criminals have gone wild, over the period of the pandemic. We've got the largest public fraud in the history of the United States that unfolded during our unemployment insurance, starting with the CARES Act at the peak of the pandemic in April of 2020, when up to 40 million Americans were hurting. They were tossed out of a job, and Congress swooped in with $800 billion worth of unemployment insurance. This was designed to help people who had real needs, people who lost their jobs. And now we know up to half of it, $400 billion, was stolen by criminals, con artists, and crime syndicates from around the world. So the criminals have gone wild during the COVID era. The insiders have gamed the system, and the federal bureaucracy is woefully institutionally incompetent. And what's the president's solution for all of this? He's proposed a draconian income tax hike. As a matter of fact, he wants to take it beyond your income. Wants to take it into an asset tax on assets you haven't sold yet. Okay. So after all of this, they want more. Tax revenues are at an all-time high, but the Biden administration, they can't spend enough. They want to spend even more and tax you more.
And penalize us, the citizen, the taxpayer. Unbelievable. Got to go to break. We've got more from Adam on the other side. Stay with us.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're going to love it, and you're going to love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. That's 800-699-0358.
President Biden recently released a massive $6 trillion budget, the largest budget in U.S. history. And guess who pays the bill? That's right, you, the American taxpayer. American citizens and business owners will be paying more taxes. That's a fact. And if you owe back taxes, they will be coming after you to collect payments. In fact, President Biden also hired thousands more IRS agents to go after you. If you got a letter from the IRS and you know you owe back taxes or you haven't filed in years, don't put your head in the sand? Call us today. We've saved our customers millions of tax dollars. One quick, free phone call will show you how we can reduce your past tax bill and save you thousands. Guaranteed, or you pay nothing. Call now.
800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. That's 800-932-1597. Paid for by the Tax Helpline. If you're 65 or older and Medicare is your main source of insurance, pay close attention right now and listen for details on how you may save thousands of dollars on your healthcare costs. Did you know that Medicare can pay for things like dental visits, home delivery of drugs, even a gym membership? Call us right now and learn how to unlock all your Medicare benefits. Medicare and supplemental plans that we provide can even offer you drug coverage with zero copays and pay for transportation to your doctors. Medicare plans can offer you wonderful money-saving benefits, but you've got to call now. We'll help you get the most out of your Medicare. Make this free, no-obligation call now. Save a ton of money on your healthcare costs and get the code to unlock all your earned Medicare benefits. Paid for by Senior Choice Plans. 800-796-3954. 800-796-3954. That's 800-796-3954.
And we're talking with Adam Andrzejewski, founder of openthebooks.com. We're talking about our government spending and are we getting our money's worth, Adam?
So look, we're not getting our money's worth. We're literally getting ripped off. Our federal government is literally ripping off its citizens. And for the 3 points that we outlined in the first segment here, it's not in dispute. These are the facts. This is what government tells us. This is what we have found, giving oversight and following the money at the federal level. Hard facts, no spin. And then the abject, massive corruption and fraud and stealing at the federal level and the looting of our federal pandemic aid.
Yeah. And we come back to that question, is the government too big? Is it unmanageable? Are we expecting an unrealistic outcome here? Now we say that. Now the feds would say, well, that's because we don't have enough people working for us already, right? Any way that would give them the option to bloat the government even more, they'd be all over that, right?
Well, the head count in the federal executive agencies, these are the 124 federal agencies, the alphabet soup of federal agencies like the IRS, like the Environmental Protection Agency, like the Social Security Administration, NASA, Health and Human Services, Veterans Affairs, all of these. There's 124 of those agencies outside of the Pentagon, outside of the spy agencies like the CIA and others. But the head counts are at a modern day high. Now under Joe Biden, there's over 1.44 million federal bureaucrats in those agencies. So they can't make the argument they need more people. Look, this is exactly why, this moment in time is exactly why our founders, put it in. They wanted a government that was limited, and they rested the power in this American experiment with the individual, with the citizens. They are supposed to work for us. And that's why bill transparency is so powerful. And we believe it revolutionizes United States public policy and politics because it properly orders the system. We get to review their spending and hold them accountable for tax and spend decisions.
As it should be, Adam. I mean, this is a democratic republic. The three most important words in our Constitution is we the people. But we the people cannot check out. We have to hold them accountable. We're spending too much time looking at, our cell phones or screens and that sort of thing. I mean, look at the average time spent now in America on these screens. Bureaucracies, governments, they love that kind of diversion because they get to hide the P while we're focused on these other things, right?
Exactly. But you have to go back to the constitutional basis of transparency. It's in the appropriations clause of the United States Constitution, which is powerful. It's Article 1, Section 9. And here's the transparency clause there. It says that a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. And Bill, look, there's a clear interpretation today. It's post every dime online in real time, open the books, and there's a government war on transparency. For example, the Office of Vice President, they reject all Freedom of Information Act requests. He doesn't think she is bound by the federal law on the Freedom of Information Act. And so she rejects all requests for her office. So what does that mean? We don't know who works for her office. She's a heartbeat away from the presidency. We know White House payrolls. We don't know the payrolls of the Office of Vice President.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Enters into contracts and spending. Yeah. We don't know who she's paying. We don't know what vendors she has. We don't know what contracts she's let. I mean, that's just one example of the war on transparency at the federal level. It starts with the Office of Vice President.
Well, the arrogance of the vice president not to be held accountable. She knew when she took this office that there was going to be accountability. But unfortunately, and this seems to be the rule of law, particularly with one party other than the other. And that is they're going to waylay, they're going to run out the clock because, they go in 4-year cycles. Either if they get reelected, hopefully they're in power and that stuff goes away and they got cover. Otherwise, if they do get reelected and, they don't have they don't have control of the two other legislative bodies, particularly the House, then it becomes a little bit of a challenge for them. And it becomes kind of a minor annoyance because meanwhile, they got 4 years. They're going to divert. They're going to straight arm us and avoid answering those questions. And it'll get caught up in court, perhaps, on the outside. And by then they're out of office. And guess what? They're collecting their retirement. Thank you very much.
Well, and we ask one question, whether it's at the federal level, the state level, or the local level. Our auditors at openthebooks.com, we ask one question: what government program is running well? And we've never, when we investigate, when we follow the money, we've never found a government program running well. I don't care if it's in your local township, your county, your state, all the way to the federal government. And that's why this transparency and citizen-led revolution on transparency of public expenditures is so important. We need to hold them accountable for their decisions. And so, we're talking about, what federal programs running well. We can't find one. And what is the Biden administration's solution? It's to tax you more, but also to staff up, lawyer up, and arm up the IRS to squeeze more from you. And so that's the proposal that passed, that Biden signed, the 87,000 new employees over at the IRS. Bill, that's a doubling of the IRS workforce. Okay, that's 100% increase. And our data at openthebooks.com, we show a head count at the IRS currently of 82,000 coming into this fiscal year. Hiring 87,000 would more than double the workforce. And then, of course, we have shown and broke the national story that the IRS has purchased $35 million worth of guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment since 2008. And 10 million of that was purchased since the pandemic started. So They are, not only have they lawyered up, they're arming up, and it is time to scale back the federal arsenal.
Even though they double the size of the IRS, I'll guarantee you they still won't be able to answer a phone.
I know. That's a real problem over there right now. You know why? They're all working from home.
Right. Exactly. And the other thing that is going to happen here with the IRS, like you said, they're armed up. They've got ammunition. They're not going to be trained properly. This is a hot mess, and it's not just the IRS, but how many other government institutions have weapons, for these people that shouldn't even have weapons. You sit there and go, wait, what are they doing with guns?
Well, Bill, there are now more federal bureaucrats with arrest and firearm authority than there are United States Marines. So federal officers with arrest and firearm authority, that's more than 200,000. And there's about 187,000 U.S. Marines. We show at openthebooks.com since 2006, that 103 federal agencies have purchased $3.7 billion, that's with a B, of guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment. So they've definitely staffed up and armed up. Okay, so you break that down. That is 27 traditional law enforcement agencies. These are under the Department of Justice or the Department of Homeland Security. These are traditional law enforcement agencies at the federal level, like the U.S. Marshals, like the FBI, like the Bureau of Prisons, like the Secret Service, etc. You have 76 traditional paper-pushing, civil, administrative agencies, 76 of them, like the IRS, like the EPA, like the Department of Transportation, like the Social Security Administration.
And what is it? Everybody wants a gun and a badge, I guess, huh?
Exactly. Who knew that the National Institutes of Health, Fauci's old agency, had a police force of over 103 officers? We took the NIH police force and ranked it against the nearly 12,200 local police departments that exist across the country. And it would, on head count alone, it would be larger than 95% of local police departments across the country. At NIH.
Unbelievable. Tell you, we got to go to break. We've got more from Open the Books founder, Adam Andrzejewski, right after this. Stay with us.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
Those stomach issues ruined your birthday?
You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa.
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
if these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist. Ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. That's 800-699-0358. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. That's 800-699-0358. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-823-9853. 800-823-9853. 800-823-9853. That's 800-823-9853.
You know, if you really want to freak out the government, Adam, I'm convinced all you got to say is something like transparency or accountability, and they tuck and run. They don't want to deal with this. I mean, even with the Senate hearings or House hearings of some of these government officials, it is unbelievable how embarrassing. I don't know how they can, go home and live with themselves other than, I guess they're so ideologically fixed that they feel like, okay, well, this is the game of cat and mouse the bureaucracy plays with we the people, I guess, right?
Well, and it's not surprising. Government is trying to self-actualize, become a bigger part of our lives. And this is why there's genius in the founding of the country with the limitation on government so individuals can flourish. And make no mistake, this is a unique and rare moment in the last 5,000 years of human history, because we're the only people, Bill, and you know this, that in our founding documents, it recognizes our inalienable rights. Our rights come from God. They don't come from government. We instituted a government to secure our rights. And that's why we need transparency to be able to hold that government accountable, because knowledge is power.
Exactly. Adam, this is why I believe we have to represent the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence was our founding fathers' manifesto to the ruling power of the time, right? They were not serving them. And right now, the current government is not serving us. They're serving themselves. This idea of being a servant to the people, those are just words. They ring hollow because you know them by what they produce. And what they produce are things that favor them, like insider trading. How does somebody come in and work for government for $170,000, $180,000 a year and they leave, becoming multi-gazillionaires? How do they do that?
Yeah, exactly. I think we know how they do that.
Yes, right.
Sure. So, I think the best.
Yeah, I think you might be able to find a clear answer on Hunter Biden's laptop too. But there's nothing to see here, right? Because again, that's part of that accountability, transparency thing that scares them.
Well, our members of Congress with their sharp net worth increases, the Biden family that's coming to light with their insider trading. Look, these are just all symptoms. Over the course of the last 20 years, the size, scope, and power of government at all levels has grown substantially. And, the best example of this is what we're talking about here with the Internal Revenue Service. So let's take a peek inside their gun locker, Bill. So
okay.
ahead of the pandemic, the IRS, the tax agency, owned 4,500 weapons. They had stockpiled 5 million rounds of ammunition. If you break down their gun locker, what you'll find is 639 semi-automatic shotguns. You got 539 long barrel rifles. You've got 15 submachine guns. I mean, who knew that the IRS needed a submachine gun?
Right.
All right. Now, since the pandemic, you've got a massive amount of purchases, $2.5 million worth of ammunition, another $2.5 million worth of ballistic shields, and then other various gear for criminal investigative enterprises. That's how it's said. You got $500,000 spent on those shotguns. You got $500,000 spent on those Smith & Wesson AR-15 style rifles. You've got $500,000 nearly spent on tactical lighting. They've got so much gear that each of their 2,200 special agents, they get a tactical gear bag. They spent $350,000 on tactical gear bags. They own so much stuff.
Mm-hmm. Adam, I'd be curious to find out when was the last time they were trained to use that stuff. You probably have some of those agents that have a tactical gear bag that don't even know how to open up the zipper. because
Well,
they've never
no,
been into it.
we're
Go
all
ahead.
assuming, which is a bad thing to do. We should run an investigation as to if they're following
Mhm.
federal law on the training of their special agents, because as we all know, and it came to light last fall in September on the job posting of the IRS special agent, one of the requirements for the job, you had to be willing to use deadly force.
Exactly.
When this trended on national Twitter, they immediately stripped it off the internet. But about a week later, they put it back on. Because it's honest.
Yeah.
If you're an IRS special agent, you have to be willing to shoot to kill.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Here we are. We've got 80,000 SWAT raids across the country every year. And I guess that's not enough. Now we got to throw the IRS into the mix, which is, reminiscent of the Wild West gang that can't shoot straight. Again, I'm thinking about training. For those of us who are responsible gun owners, we know that training is something that you have to do ongoing. There is a commitment, and based on what we're seeing from the IRS, where they don't even show up for work, you can't tell me that the 40% of the time they're not showing up for work, that maybe they're spending time at the range or doing things that really advance their job and their standing on behalf of the American people.
Well, and sometimes, they don't have to do too much. They don't have to pull out a weapon. You remember just a couple of months ago when the journalist Matt Taibbi went in front of Congress and testified. And on the same day he's in front of Congress testifying about what he found in the Twitter files, he was one of the lead journalists on that file when Elon Musk opened up the books of Twitter to show all of us what was really going on at the intersection of federal government, federal pressure, and social media in this country. Well, Taibbi is testifying in front of Congress. Meanwhile, back home, his home gets a visit from an IRS special agent. And all that is intimidation. That's
exactly
a tax agency to intimidate a journalist when he goes in front of Congress.
Well, they did that to the American people with the Tea Party patriots, as you'll recall. What were they guilty of? They were guilty of exercising their civic duty, their constitutional rights in saying, look, we want to hold our government accountable. We want to know how they're spending the money. We want to downsize government. They had some ideas, and boy, I'll tell you, the Obama administration didn't like it. So they ended up kind of giving a wink and a nod to Lois Lerner, and she slow walked their tax exemption. Many to this day did not. And the Tea Party still is an organic organization, not to the level that it was growing and could have been. And clearly what they've been able to do, you talk about suppressing the vote. They very skillfully were able to suppress the vote and I believe affect the outcome of at least 10 voting cycles.
Well, in terms of like Lois Lerner, she was the tip of the spear on that. They allowed her to retire on a full federal pension. And here's the rub. We still don't know how much she's receiving, guaranteed by taxpayers, partially funded by taxpayers, her federal pension, because all federal pensions, whether you're Lois Lerner or any retired bureaucrat or a retired member of Congress or your U.S. senator, those federal payouts are not subject to the Federal Freedom of Information Act. So they're considered private information, which that law needs to be changed. Taxpayers, we guarantee that pension. We help fund that pension. We deserve to be able to see that pension.
Yeah, the other thing that you reported, open the books here, Adam, is the new minimum wage for a federal bureaucrat. We're not talking $15 an hour flipping burgers at McDonald's. This is a pretty nice gig as a minimum wage as a federal employee, right?
Yeah, so it's $100,000 a year. That's the average pay of the 1.44 million federal bureaucrats within those 124 agencies that we were talking about earlier. So not only can't the Biden administration claim they need more workers because the head count's at a modern high, they are highly compensated with the average cash compensation. This is not including the cost of benefits, which are lucrative. You got to add
probably another 25, 30%, right?
Bill, I say 40% now. I used to say
okay.
30, but I think 40 is much more accurate. It's either 35 or 40%. You got to tack on to the cash compensation of $100,000. So each of those 1.44 million federal bureaucrats, they cost taxpayers on average about $135,000 to $140,000 per position.
Adam, why is it that the government is hiding names and hiding this information from, like you said, this has to stop. What can we, the people, do to demand that we get this information?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up. There is a Where's Waldo of the federal workforce nowadays. The Biden administration just redacted the names of 350,000 of those federal employees. So we don't know who's receiving those paychecks. We estimate there's $20 billion. Well, probably now about $35 billion hidden in the swamp with the average pay of $100,000 apiece. And furthermore, there's about 180,000 locations where they're supposed to be working that are redacted. So we don't know who by name is receiving the federal paycheck, and we don't know where they're working. This is a real problem. I want to put it in context. In 2016, during the last year of the Obama administration redacted 2,300 names from the federal payroll. The Biden administration just redacted 350,000 names.
Well, unbelievable. We got to go to break. We'll pick it up from there. More from Adam right after this.
Has your heater or air conditioner busted? Appliance broken? Computer crashed? Then you need an ARW home warranty. Home system and appliance repairs and replacements can cause stress and cost you thousands of dollars per year. With an A-plus BBB rating and a top-rated home warranty company on Consumer Affairs and Trustpilot, ARW Home provides superior service, featuring the industry's lowest service call fee. ARW Home has warranty plans that cover your kitchen and laundry appliances, heating and air conditioning systems, electrical and plumbing systems, and much more. Call 800-559-7562 to customize your plan. Plus, ARW has partnered with Azurian to protect your new and used tablets, laptops, TVs, and other home tech from accidental damage and wear and tear. All plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call 800-559-7562. That's 800-559-7562. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. 800-699-0358. That's 800-699-0358.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who help people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Do you use pesticides in your job? Specifically Roundup. Roundup, made by Monsanto, contains a chemical called glyphosate, which has been linked to cancer. If you've used Roundup and you have cancer, you may be entitled to a cash award. Over $10 billion has been set aside to pay users of Roundup who've been diagnosed with cancer. Time is almost running out to file your claim. So if you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've used Roundup, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And time to file is almost gone, so please call right now.
800-890-7088. 800-890-7088. 800-890-7088. That's 800-890-7088.
Welcome back. Bill Martinez here, along with Adam Andrzejewski, the author of Open the Books, Drain the Swamp, Operation Drain the Swamp. And of course, he's the founder and president of Open the Books. And we're talking our money. We're talking transparency, accountability of our government. Adam, you're featuring a big story at openthebooks.com right now regarding Joni Ernst. And this is amazing for our audience to hear, that you've tracked over $1.3 billion. This is U.S. tax dollars sent to China and Russia. China and Russia, I mean, are these allies suddenly that we don't know about? What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be borrowing money from China to pay China. That doesn't make any sense. Now, here's why our report, Bill, is so important. Because Congress tasked the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, with finding out how much U.S. taxpayer money flowed into China over the course of the past 5 years since 2017. And the GAO found less than $50 million, $48 million. Well, we found 10 times as much because our auditors at openthebooks.com, we know how to dig. We went through the subgrants and subcontracts. And so we tied out nearly $500 million into China alone, and nearly another $1 billion over that same period into Russia, $900 million. And we found many troubling instances of U.S. taxpayers paying for things that are, quite frankly, silly or raise questions of national security.
Exactly. We're in a war right now, a proxy war at the least with Ukraine and Russia, and we're giving them money. This does not make sense. See, this is what's so confusing for the American people. We don't know who to believe or what to believe anymore, Adam.
I know it is confusing. Look, we've been lost in space, for example, with the Russians since 2000, at least 2005, when we've subsidized their space program to the tune of $4.1 billion with a B dollars. Just in the last 5 years, we've put around $800 million, over $750 million into the Russian space program, including their number one rocket vendor. Okay, so think about this. Money's fungible, especially in a Department of Defense. So if the Russians ever shoot a rocket at the United States, that rocket's coming over here conceivably with technology that we, the taxpayer, helped to subsidize.
Exactly. Yeah. And then here we are with China, and there's this movement and ongoing conversation about how we need to decouple from China. And it seems like we're just getting deeper and deeper entrenched with them, whether it's the Confucius Institute at universities. We've got 5-6 police stations operating within the United States. All this money and suspicion of what's going on between the Biden family and that, the reports that come out, whistleblowers being quieted. This is a hot mess, Adam.
Well, it's amazing how fast our federal agencies lose track of U.S. taxpayer dollars that they dole out. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, there's no place on earth that's received more scrutiny over the course of the last 3 years than the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Right.
Yet we found, working with the Ernst team, our auditors found additional projects and additional U.S. dollars went into Wuhan. We found $1.1 million flowed from the U.S. Foreign Aid Office. This is not NIH, the National Institute of Health, or the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. This is USAID, a foreign aid office of the United States government. Here was the project that nobody knows about. It was to identify known and unknown viruses in wildlife and see if they can jump to the human species. This is material to the entire conversation at the Wuhan lab.
Exactly. Yeah. And how does
now?
Yeah. And how does this happen without President Obama not knowing about it?
So this was a subassistance through EcoHealth Alliance to the Wuhan lab. And since it's a subgrant of a subgrant, it's not disclosed by the feds. We only know about it because one member of Congress heard about it from a whistleblower, wrote a letter to USAID, the Foreign Aid Office, and they confirmed it in a letter. I have a copy of the letter, but this has not been given any press. We found other projects from, for instance, Cold Springs Harbor, it's a national lab, through NIH into the Wuhan Institute of Virology. We still don't know the amount, and we don't have good details on the project. So there's still a lack of transparency at this Wuhan lab.
Well, this is amazing. Of course, we're grateful, Adam, to you and the team for staying on top of this and keeping us informed. Remind everybody where they need to go to be in the flow of the know so that they're part of the solution and not adding to the problem here.
Well, I like that, Bill. Be in the flow of the know. That's good.
Yeah.
Just come to openthebooks.com and consider us your information machine for democracy. We have nearly every dime from every level of government on our website. Easy to search. It's free to search. We're a public charity. So come to openthebooks.com. You can search your local school district, find out where they're spending your tax dollars. We encourage you to do it and hold them accountable.
Well, and you can also invest in Open the Books as well. Your donation is well appreciated, of any nature, any size, because we need to continue to support the efforts that Adam and the team are doing on behalf of we the people.
And we don't take any government money. We're entirely funded by citizens, by people. So thank you, Bill, for pointing that out.
Well, Adam Andrzejewski, I cannot thank you enough again for all the great work, what you're doing on behalf of our country in helping us save this country and to hold our bureaucrats accountable. He is the author of Drain the Swamp, Open the Books, founder and president, Adam Andrzejewski. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate the time. You take care.
Thank you, Bill.
Godspeed, my friend. Well, that's going to be a wrap for us. Thank you for sharing a part of your day. And as I say, being a part of the solution to get this country back on track to save this country. Our thanks to Adam Andrzejewski. For more information and to be a part of the Bill Martinez Show or this mighty Martinez movement and this Martinez movement to return to God and to save our country, check out BillMartinezShow.com. May God bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you. Go and be blessed beyond your imaginings. Thank you.